Hello, my friend. Stay a while and listen.
What's going on, guys? It's Filthy and I'm back with another video. Today we're looking at a speed farm build for the Wizard, which is doing GR95 in kind of about the 3.5 minute range. It'll obviously depend how much juice you've got on it, how well this performs, but it is nice and quick and it's a lot of fun, and it's obviously using the brand new Hydra set for this season. We are making use of the season theme, but I will show you how to run it off season. Not quite as quick, but you certainly can do it. Before we jump in and take a look at it though, I want to welcome anyone who's new to the channel. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. As always guys, a thumbs up is appreciated. And I think the gameplay in the background, we'll do 90 first, and then at the end of the video I've got a 95 that's 3.5 minutes. I've got about 1000 Paragon, I think 1 or 2 augments from my Witch Doctor shared pieces. But all in all, this is certainly a lot stronger than I thought it would be. But let's jump in and take a look at the gear. So jumping in and looking at the gear, we're going to be taking 5 pieces of the Typhon set, we're going to take 2 pieces of Crimson, and have Rogue tying it all together. The 2 piece of the Hydra set, we double the duration of Hydras, which is great. They last twice as long, so they don't ever drop off. You'll recast them before they ever disappear. We also get extra heads on them, so we're going to go with Frost Hydra. So we're going to get 2 extra heads, so that's 5 heads per Hydra. Because we have the Serpent Sparker, we get an extra Hydra, so that is 10 heads that we have active. Now with the 4 piece, we get 8% damage reduction for each Hydra head, so that's 80% damage reduction. That is absolutely huge. It means that we are shielded up the whole time, we don't take damage, it just doesn't happen. Obviously if you push the build too high, then you will start taking damage. I'll talk about that when we look at the rest of the items, but the idea is that 80% damage reduction is obviously pretty huge as a starter. On the 6 piece, the Hydras also deal 13,000%, 1,300 for every head, and we have 10 heads, so they do hit pretty hard. The Serpent Sparker, as well as giving us an extra one, also gives us up to 300% multiply on the Hydra, so again, very nice. Then we have the Magistrate in the cube, so we get 300% extra damage again on the Hydra, but they also cast Frost Nova. Now Frost Nova is unruined, but what it will do is it will freeze enemies for 2 seconds, so fantastic for crowd control. Obviously it won't freeze a Juggernaut, but other than that it will basically mean that stuff is locked in place for you, so very nice. Now other than that, in terms of modifiers, we're also going to take the channeling items. So Death Wish, this is going to kick in after 1 second, so we get no benefit for the first second of channeling, but after that we get all damage increased by 325%. We're going to be picking Ray of Frost as our channeling skill. We'll go through that in the skills in a little bit. We're also going to take the Etch Sigil. This again doesn't activate for 1 second, but it will give us a power increase of up to 150%, and also it will give us a Arcane Spender for free. Now if you activate both your Hydras and then you channel, it will use another different Arcane Spender. It won't recast your Hydras for you, but if you do start channeling without any Hydras up, it may well pop them for you. But the idea is you pop your Hydras down, then you can channel and you get this extra damage increase. Now to be honest, the Hydras hit pretty hard on their own, so they will do damage anyway. You don't need these extra multipliers, but for any kind of tough enemy it is very handy. For the Rift Guardian obviously it comes in very handy to have the channeling items, and when you do spend this 1 second channeling, stuff absolutely detonates. Really good. So the Crimson set, the 2 piece is giving us 20% cooldown, 20% resource cost reduction. Resource cost is actually very helpful. That does give us quite a bit of freedom with the kind of skills and also gear rolls, and the cooldown is just going to be more damage. So the 3 piece, more cooldown is more damage, and more resource cost reduction is more damage reduction. So again, more damage reduction with resource cost just means that we are super tanky. We're going to take a Hail of Carini, which is going to give us 80% damage reduction when Storm Armor electrocutes something more than 15 yards away. So obviously guys, you can see we've already really stacked quite a few layers of mitigation. 80%, 80%, and then the Crimsons as well means it's just so tanky, it's ridiculous. That allows us to take the Squirts. This will basically give us double damage when we don't take any damage. We're going to go through all the shielding mechanics, buff up a really huge shield around the character, and that means that it doesn't drop because the damage reduction is so high, and we basically get double damage the whole way. It's obviously very nice. We're going to take a Bane of the Trapped for some more damage. So again, the freeze from the Frost Nova will proc this. We also will proc it with Ray of Frost, so literally everything other than Juggernaut gets this flat multiplier, which is nice. And an Enforcer to buff up the Hydras basically, so it doesn't buff the Ray of Frost, but obviously it does buff the Hydras, which is nice. Bane of the Powerful as well for more damage generally, and also hitting that a bit harder against elites and taking a little bit of edge off their damage, which is very nice. Now for the season, I've got Echoing Fury in the cube. This basically stacks attack speed as you kill. When you get to 5 kills, its max is 75% attack speed. That is a separate modifier, I think, on the Hydras, and it makes them absolutely obliterate stuff. We also get a really nice 25% move speed at 5 stacks, so we do actually feel nice and zippy with the build. We can run around a little quick. Off season, what I probably would do is put a Convention of Elements in this slot. Not quite as quick because we lose the move speed. It's a bit more clunky because we have to wait for the cold cycle to come round, but it is a pretty viable swap. You could maybe do Stone of Jordan, and obviously you're much more likely to put your Rogue in the cube because the stats generally aren't great on a Rogue, and you're much more likely to have Convention on. But obviously attack speed is pretty good for the pets, so you know it's not the worst thing in the world, and it's obviously very easy to get a nice Rogue. I haven't got one this season. I hate bounties, but obviously you can go off and get one if you want. So I think that probably covers the gear. In the helm, I've gone for the cooldown gem for more damage. You shouldn't really need the resource cost one. Again, we'll talk about that in the skills. Full damage gems in the chest and also in the trousers. You want to pick up Hydra damage where you can on your chest piece, on your shoulders, maybe on your offhand if you can squeeze it in as well. But other than that, stat wise, you just want full damage everywhere. You don't want life per hit anyway. You don't need it. You're not got any kind of generating health mechanic. You don't need to get it back. I'd be much better with percent damage or with area damage. Area damage is nice because you are manually casting your Hydras, so it does benefit area damage, so that would be something to look out for. So looking at the skills, Ray of Frost, Cold Blood, we're going to go for this because it normally costs 16 arcane power. This pulls it down to 11. It means you can channel pretty much indefinitely. Really nice. Now if I did have a few more resource cost rolls somewhere, I'd consider taking Snow Blast for the extra 15% damage. When I did use it, what I found is the arcane power would run dry, so it's something you could play around with. You can maybe put Paragon into arcane power, you can maybe mix the build up a little bit, but honestly we're doing GR95 anyway pretty comfortably, so I just think keep it easy, take the pressure off, go for Cold Blood. Now Ray of Frost also, as we say, does slow enemies, so that activates the Bane of the Trap, so anything kind of tagged with this will take the extra damage, which is nice. Hydra Frost Hydra, these have just got quite a big area of effect, and obviously it's cold build, so we're going for all the cold stuff. Storm Armor, we need this to activate the Hail of Carini. We may as well go for the Power of the Storm rune to reduce arcane power skills by 3. Really handy, again just takes the edge off any kind of resource problems. Magic Weapon Deflection, this gives us a 10% increased damage for 10 minutes, so you pop it at the start of the rift and don't touch it again. We then get a protective shield basically for 3 seconds, absorbing 4% of our life and damage. So again, really nice. Whenever we attack we get this shield, and it just helps keep us with that kind of squirts buff up basically. Black Hole Absolute Zero, this is another arcane spender. This will essentially be auto cast when we channel. In theory you could use this to group stuff up, but I tend to just play it where we just jump into the middle of a load of stuff. The more stuff we get, the more things get tagged with Black Hole. It increases our cold damage, which is great because obviously the Hydra is cold, so you can easily get this up to 20 stacks. That's obviously another 60% damage. Pretty big modifier. You basically want to be right in the middle of stuff with this type of build. Lastly, we've got Teleport Wormhole. This is just basically for mobility, so I like Wormhole because it means that you can teleport and then zip again. So the idea is you'll jump into a load of enemies, blow them up with the Hydras, and then 2 teleports will get you, a good couple of screens away, and then hopefully you're starting again, setting up with your Hydras. You can take Safe Passage if you want to get that extra bit of damage reduction. Cooldown wise, it's an 11-second cooldown. You're probably going to end up with about 50%ish CDR, so you're kind of at the break point anyway. I just personally quite like Wormhole because it does allow you to, if you make a mistake when teleporting into an explosion, you can just quickly jump back out of it. So that's why I've gone for that. Passives wise, Galvanizing Ward is essential. This will give us a shield up to 60% of our life, provided we haven't taken damage for 5 seconds. Just bear in mind when you start off the rift, this isn't up. You've got to wait 5 seconds before this activates, so if you just charge straight in, you can drop your squirts bonus, so just bear that in mind. Evocation, 20% cooldown is just more damage because of the Crimson, so it's just basically here to buff up the damage. Audacity, as I say, the playstyle is very much to jump in the middle of your Hydras, so we are close range, so extra damage seems to make sense. And then Unwavering Will, when we do actually stop for 1.5 seconds to get this channeling bonus for the Death Wish and for the Etched Sigil, we also get extra armor, all res and damage. Probably most handy for the Rift Guardian. Obviously once you start doing 1995, it is the Rift Guardian that does take the most damage. Now I think in the gear, didn't talk about the Nemesis braces. Obviously this is just here for progression. On the GR90 clears we are using Nems. To go up to the next kind of bracket, say 95, what I found is that you do actually need the blood braces. So these will double the value of your shields, so that kind of works for another kind of 5 GR jumps. Just basically doubles that shield up for you, allows you to keep your squirts up. So play around with it. Blood braces, Nemesis braces, just depends. Obviously you're going to get a much quicker run with Nems in because you're just getting that extra progression. And the last gear swap that I can think of really is maybe putting Unity in to get another doubling of toughness, but really guys, you shouldn't need it. It is extremely tough and tanky, but maybe if you're playing hardcore you could do. Now passives wise, there's an argument because it's a speed build that you want to take unstable nominally. This will give you a cheat death. What I found is the build is so tough and so ridiculously stacked with damage reduction and shields that you don't need it. The only thing I would say is when you swap floors you need to reactivate your Hydra, so I'll put a little clip of me screwing it up and dying, but other than that, provided you pop your Hydras down as soon as you change floor, you're absolutely golden and absolutely fine. Other decent passives, you know, there's lots the Wizard's got, so you don't have to necessarily stick to these. Galvanizing Ward you definitely need. I probably would be reluctant to take Audacity off, but other than that, if you want the power hungry so that you can maybe be at a bit more range and do some damage, again maybe wanting to avoid getting squished by the Rift Guardian. Glass Cannon for a bit more damage, albeit you would take a bit more damage. Blur would give you more damage reduction. You know, there's plenty of passives you can play around with the maximum arcane power as well, so plenty that you could look at, but they're the ones I've been using and that's what we've got in the footage. So in terms of playstyle, what you need to do is as soon as you start the Rift, you're going to pop 2 lots of Hydras down just so that you've got your 80% damage reduction. You're going to pop Magic Weapon, which is going to get your shield up. It's also going to give you the extra damage. You're going to pop your Storm Armor. Again, this reduces arcane power cost, allows the Hail of Carini to be activated. And then what you're going to do is basically come up to some enemies, drop your Hydras on them again. And I tend to kind of like jump in the middle, so I might like put one here, and then I'll just stand in between them like this and channel. And basically, the bigger the kind of group of area you can get in, the Hydra's got a fairly decent radius. You've obviously got your Audacity, and you're tagging everything with Black Hole, you're tagging everything with Ray of Frost. And I quite like that. It's not like one of these you've got to stay at range, squishy type things. Very much suits my playstyle. I like being in the middle of the battle. I like just stuff around me exploding. Really fun to play actually. I was quite surprised how much I enjoyed filming the footage for the video. So yeah, it is pretty good, and we can use it off season because, as I say, we just stick the convention in instead of the Echoing Fury. Also gives you a chance to maybe get a nice weapon because you've got 3 of them that you can aim for. So that's it guys, that is how we speed build. That's how we speed with the Hydra. Do really like it. Be interested to see whether they change the set to maybe give it a little bit more juice next season. Could be really fun. Maybe there's more we can do with it, but at the moment this is how we've got it. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll be back with some more season 20 content soon. Probably the Witch Doctor Let's Play episode will be next. Don't know, I'll have to have a little look, but as always guys, hit me up on anything you want at the moment. Still waiting for season 21 to start or for details to be announced, so if there is anything you want me to cover, stick it in the comments and I'll add it to the list. Other than that, hope you're staying safe, take it easy, peace.